All the world's a stage, and all the men and women are players. All the world's a stage, and you 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 in your own beautiful way are a part.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz pianist and composer Daniel Kelly. We caught up with him in early May 2020 during the COVID-19 lockdown to talk about the Shakespeare and Jazz Project. He has been called stunningly original with a visionary imagination. He explores the meeting place of music with literature, visual art, and journalism, captivating audiences around the country. He's got a great story. Enjoy.
Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. And thanks for having
Good.
me on your show. I'm happy to be a part of it.
But anyways, I think now is probably a good time to talk about the music. So thanks for taking a minute out. I know that you have a project, a Shakespeare project. Talk to me a little bit about this project.
The project's called Shakespeare and Jazz. And I'm a jazz pianist and composer, and I've taken select passages from Shakespeare and turned them into songs. And when we perform, one of the great things is that we actually get people singing along with us at times. And the vocalist in the band, Frederick Johnson, is really amazing at getting people involved in call and response and having it be a real participatory experience. And so it's kind of a way of exploring language, exploring Shakespeare, but through this lens of jazz music and improvisation and playing and singing together.
So when did all of this begin? What was kind of the conception of this project?
Well, there's a couple different parts to it. The first time I set Shakespeare to music was actually tied into one of my other projects. And this is where I travel around the country and I interview people and compose music inspired by their stories. I've done this all around the country in 12 different cities. And one of the places was in Iowa at a college campus. It was called Co-College. And I interviewed students and teachers about their experience just on campus. And I had spoken with the director of the school play and some of the students, and they were doing A Midsummer Night's Dream. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to set this piece to music, find some words from the play? And so I found the passage, I do wander everywhere. And I set it to music, and it fell together really, it came together really easily. It just, and I thought to myself, wow, this is really, there's something resonant about this with me. When I was young, very young, I thought I'd be an actor before I started on the path toward being a musician. And when I was young in high school, I was in some plays. One was actually A Midsummer Night's Dream in high school. And so it just kind of resonated for me. But even though I was had that interest, still when I open up a book of Shakespeare or see a clip of a play, the language was really difficult to understand. And so after composing that piece, I set it up as a kind of a project for myself to say, man, I finally want to try to figure this language out. And I travel all around the country. I see the Shakespeare festivals all over the place. I've had some experience with it, but still, when I try to listen, it's really difficult. I want to try to figure out what everyone's talking about. And so I started going through some of his famous passages and figuring out through doing something that I love to do, which is to write music and play music, and using my passion and artistry to explore and hopefully learn more about Shakespeare. And that's the genesis of this project.
So the reception from the audience sounds like it's quite enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's been really surprising to see entire audiences of people singing Shakespeare. Certain lines, you know, we do back and forth call and response with the audience, but it's something you never expect. But actually, it feels so natural. And just like anything else, the more you dig into this language, the more you realize, oh, there's a reason why people consider Shakespeare the greatest playwright in the English language. There's a reason why it's lasted 400 years. And even just saying a line like double, double, toil and trouble, and singing it and saying it. Those lines are from when these witches are putting ingredients in a cauldron. And even the words double, double, toil and trouble, they sound like a bubbling broth. And the more you say them, the more the genius of them reveals itself. And also, I think anyone knows is when you sing something, you learn it in a different way. If someone said, okay, you have to memorize these 4 lines of Shakespeare, it might be really challenging. But if you sing it to a melody, you'll remember it really well. And that's, in essence, what we're doing as well. You know, people are able, the idea of the music is to make it relatable and fun to sing and accessible. Yet we're digging in and we're playing, but the melodies are something that will stick in your mind when you leave. So the idea is that, when audiences are leaving the theater, they actually can continue to sing these passages and these songs. And as a composer, it's a joy to hear hundreds of people singing your melodies. And it's fun to set the words of Shakespeare to music. I'm a composer, but not really a lyricist. So this is another way of finding a huge treasure trove of words and use them to set to music. So it's always fun to just try to find a new passage and see how we can do it. And we set it in different styles, all within the jazz idiom, but one might be have a swing feel, another one might have a bossa nova rhythm or a salsa rhythm or these kind of things. So we stir it up and make it different. But it's really fun. And it's been fun for audiences of all ages. We've had a lot of success performing for students, and where we play at a performing arts center, a big theater, and we fill it with students, and they are having maybe their first experience with Shakespeare, but it's really fun and really positive. So hopefully when they encounter Shakespeare later in their school life, they'll have a positive feeling about it instead of one filled with dread. And when we perform for adults who know Shakespeare, they're kind of blown away because they say, man, I've been acting in Shakespeare plays my whole life. I'm an actor, but I've never had this kind of experience with his language, so thank you. And jazz fans who don't know Shakespeare at all, we're jazz musicians and we're soloing in the midst of all that and doing all the group interaction that any jazz band does. So, we're digging in. So they're having a blast, and they'll come up to us afterward and say, man, I didn't even know I liked Shakespeare, but I love it. And I love what you guys are doing. So it's kind of hitting a lot of, it's touching a lot of things, and it's been a lot of fun.
It has to be really tough, too, with something like this that's really done live to not be able to do this live at this point.
Yeah, the whole idea of this is that it's very participatory. And Frederick Johnson, the vocalist who sings with the group, his mastery is getting people involved. And it is challenging. When we're singing the word, he sings the melody that I've set to Shakespeare's words, but then one of his things that he does, and it's different every time, is that he starts singing about the story. He starts singing about the language. He relates it to the people in the audience, whether they're students or adults, and kind of draw connections and really make it something that people are experiencing. And then it'll get people singing along with us. So it's really about a communal experience. So it's been challenging. We're trying to find a way to offer a duo version of that as we live stream and as the world continues to move toward finding ways to share what we do through the internet. And we're doing the same, so we're moving toward that. But it's just like anything. When you have a large group of people together and you're singing together, there's nothing like that.
Right on. So, we're going to get to a point where we're going to get out of this, and musicians will return to the stage, and the crowds will start filling back up in the venues. What revelations, what realizations do you hope both musician and the audience gets when we do actually get back to that point?
The words that flash into my mind are connection And what we're seeking to do right now through the internet and through phone calls and through video chats is we need to connect with people. There's not, we're social beings. Human beings want to connect and find meaning in relating with other people. So when we are able to get together in a group and have a shared experience in a musical event, I think that will just be more and more clear and valued to everyone, how this is a thing that makes us feel alive. When you're together in a group and you're hearing music, or you're at a sporting event, or at a service of any type, that's part of the aspect that just makes us human. And I hope that, I feel pretty positive that people will just cherish that more. And performers will cherish that more as well. Whatever the size of the audience is, whether it's 30 people or 3,000 people, we will come through the other end of this very, very thankful that we can share what we do with a group of people together. Because as all musicians know, when you're on stage, even if you're not looking at the audience when you're playing your instrument, you can feel their presence. I feel like it's a circuit that needs to be connected. When the musicians are playing, you're sending out the music, but you're completing that circle. The audience is giving something back. They're giving their attention. When they're singing with us, you feel that energy in a huge way. But there's a circle, there's a circuit that comes through that makes the event magical. And I've done some live stream events, and when you play the first piece and you finish and you look into the computer, you're going, wow, where's it going? But then when you start getting comments back, oh, the circuit's being connected. And you realize, oh, people are appreciating this. People are hearing this. People have questions. And then you feel that connection. So we need each other in all this. All people, and especially all musicians and artists, we need, we need to do this together.
Absolutely, I agree, man. So, let's say you come to Kansas City with this. You kind of have to describe what you give to a crowd or how the crowd's going to feel. And you kind of have to write up kind of like a Twitter-length notice about how that is. Talk to me a little bit about what your experience live would be in a place like Kansas City.
Well, it would be an engaging concert that celebrates the language of Shakespeare, that gets people involved with us in terms of singing, performed by a quartet of jazz musicians who have traveled over the world. Someone like our vocalist Frederick Johnson has performed on stage with Chick Corea and Christian McBride and Kenny Garrett, and has opened up for people like Aretha Franklin and Miles Davis and Dizzy Gillespie. So, world class. I've traveled around the world and been very fortunate to play with people like Joe Lovano and Dave Liebman, Sheila Jordan, and lots of other people. So, it's a real jazz experience. It's a real jazz concert. But these songs have lyrics by Shakespeare. And people will discover that they're actually going to have a great time. I guess that's not Twitter link. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's exactly what I was looking for, and it's never Twitter link. So, hey, man, thank you for taking some time out today to talk about the music a little oasis away. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you for all that you do and sharing music with everybody. I was able to go to the website and check out the shows that you put on and the interviews you're doing, and I think it's great. I can't wait to check out all these things on the website.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Daniel for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.